So I'll begin by acknowledging with respect and gratitude that we're on Lheidli T'enneh's traditional territory. I enjoy living and learning on their territory, and that's also where tonight's meeting's being held. Tonight, we have Jonathan Peter giving a presentation on electric vehicles and energy transition that's going on in China. Jonathan gave us a presentation a year ago in December. If you haven't seen that, I can provide you with the web link to it. So today's presentation is to give us a sense of the advancements and changes that have happened in the past 12 months in China. And China, if you're not aware, is leading the world in electric vehicles in the energy transition. It's phenomenal what's happening. So Jonathan is a Canadian from Winnipeg, Manitoba, and spent some years growing up in Victoria, British Columbia. And he spent most of his life in the energy and oil and gas industry. Since 2001, Jonathan has accumulated 10 years in China, working with China's state-owned enterprises. He was stationed in Milan, Italy, working for Shell International, and spent 3 years as practice director for IBM's Industry Center of Excellence in London, United Kingdom. In the 1980s and 90s, Jonathan worked on robotics and tanker truck loading systems in Melbourne, Australia, and at Robotic Systems International in Victoria, British Columbia. For the past 8 years, Jonathan has been living and working in China, where he has an English school. And I guess that'd be the last 9 years, because I think I used this from last year.
Sure.
So go
10
ahead,
years.
Jonathan.
Okay, so I'm very pleased to be here. And I think all the connections between continents and people in different continents and countries is very helpful for the world at the moment, because we're going through immense transitions all around the world. So today I want to give you some insight into what's actually going on here in China as far as electric vehicles. You probably already know that, as Doug has said, that electric vehicles are very uh, um, are all over the place in China, really. They've got a very big footprint now. And the move towards electrifying everything is going on in China at a great pace. Um, and I just want to give you some insight into what the latest changes are here, what innovations are going on, which I think will be helpful. So the main thing here is that there's a huge competition going on between two major battery companies in China, and it's about charging options. China's government is fully involved in this. They want to see uh, reductions in emissions and sustainable energy usage. They want to improve sustainable energy usage, and they make targets every year. Actually, for a 5-year plan, they make a huge number of targets, and the next 5-year plan is coming up uh, uh, right now, which will start in 2026. So they'll set goals for the 5 years, and that will be sent down to all provinces and all cities in every province, to all the people there, and told, this is where we're going. This is what we want you to do. So uh, they've they've got specific targets for public charging stations, residential charging stations, and workplace charging, supported by financial incentives and subsidies. So in China right now, there's over 2 million public DC charging stations. 2.5 million public AC charging piles, and there's going to be an increase of 73,000. So basically, around 4 AC chargers per square kilometer by the end of 2020, by 2026, by the beginning of next year. So that's getting in touch with a lot of people around China. It's a very big country, but difficult. So it's difficult to get that much that many public chargers out and around the country. So we've got one major competitor here who is the top supplier of electric vehicles to the world, which is BYD, or Build Your Dreams, or as the Chinese call it, BYD. Its located headquarters is in Shenzhen, which is the very advanced city just north of Hong Kong. And they lead the world in EV deliveries all over the world in 2025. So this company was formed in 2003 by Wang Chuanfu. It has nearly 1 million employees, 11 research institutes, and about 110,000 engineers. They also have other offices and factories all over China. They develop, manufacture, and market globally batteries, electric cars, EVs. They've got quite a few hybrids as well as fully EV cars. Electric buses, they're very, very big in electric buses, and electric trucks. So all those things are under their plan of action. Just recently, in the past 6 months, they've come out with the Super E platform, they call it. This is 10C megawatt charging stations for EVs. 1,000-volt systems charge 400 kilometers in 5 minutes. This is the promotion. They have the world's first liquid-cooled megawatt flash charging terminals, which back this up with a maximum output of 1,360 kilowatts. From 2025, BYD will build, or they're promising to build more than 4,000 megawatt charging stations across China. So they're going big on the megawatt charging. Along with the megawatt charging, they've created an electric drive motor, which is faster. We got 30,000 RPM from 580 kilowatts. And this is faster than Xiaomi, which is another top contender, 27,000 RPM motor, and faster than the 20,000 RPM motor on the Tesla Plaid S. I don't know too much about the Tesla, but the motor here is basically a motor which can sit on the back axle or the front axle or both. And in many cases, it's on both for high performance. So this is an example of how this is deployed. So you've got the top contender, BYD contender for international trade, which is named sometimes Atto in China, but also Sea Lion 8 in other countries. And that has a 560 to 670 kilometer range, but it depends on the electric motors. So you can have the 230 kilowatts at the front and 580 kilowatts at the rear, on the rear axle, or you can have both. So the price, Canadian price, equivalent price, would be between $42,000 and $55,000. These cars use a dual gun simultaneous charging, 8.4C, 10C, 370 kilometers can be charged in 5 minutes. That's using this fast charging. I like this car, actually. This is its sister car, which called the Han L or the Tang L. They've got two of them actually, which are have similar names. So they have 230 kilowatts at the front and 580 kilowatts in the rear, dual gun charging, and AC or DC fast charging as well. So you can do the charging at normal chargers. You can still do the charging at home, but you've got this fast charging capability. There's a problem here, though. It's the high voltage chargers. They're immense, ultra fast water-cooled chargers, and they can cost 3 to 5 times more than traditional air-cooled chargers. Furthermore, customers that use regular DC chargers get no high-speed charging advantage. And for drivers handling high-voltage systems like this, it can be dangerous. There could be problems from. China has just recently issued a new battery safety standard, which addresses this to some extent. It's a GB or a GB standard. So GB 38031 2025 is the safety requirements for power batteries used in electric vehicles. So the government is stepping in and saying you need to have very high safety standards, because they've seen things like cars catching fire and batteries catching fire and stuff like this, and they don't want this. So they're saying you need to test your batteries very, very tight limitations to all the car manufacturers. So the standard sets a bar for a much higher safety level. So that's where it has to be it will have to change the way things are done now. So we've got a competition between two battery companies, fundamentally, BYD and CATL. CATL is #1 battery maker in the world. They have the biggest battery capabilities of any battery making company in the world. And they're already making big footprints in Europe. In early 2025, BYD unveiled its 1 megawatt flash charge, 1,000 volts, 10C. This is the 5-minute charging. Days later, the chief technical officer at CATL gave a stark warning at China's EV100 forum that prioritizing ultra-fast charging at the expense of battery safety, lifespan, and energy density is unacceptable. So they threw out this statement really against BYD, their main competitor. So what was their solution to this problem? So you're basically dealing with four major battery chemistries now. LFP, lithium iron phosphate, which is the one of choice, and it's safe and cost effective. Then you've got NMC and CA, which are usually the ones that are used in North America, the batteries that are used in North America. So they have nickel, cadmium, and manganese sometimes, and cobalt. So between them, they have a very long range, and they're higher cost and high performance, but they have safety issues. These are the batteries that can catch fire and can cause big problems. Then you've got two emerging contenders. One is sodium-ion batteries, which are a low-cost challenger, 110,000 cycles plus. Cold climate ready, 0 to 30% cheaper than LFP. So CATL have delivered the first ion battery to the market this year. Then you've got LMFP, lithium manganese iron phosphate, which gives more energy than LFP, but keeps LFP's safety and affordability. Next slide. Okay. CATL with her Naxtra sodium ion battery is making a pledge about battery safety. They say this has passed the GB safety requirements certification already in 2025, becoming the world's first sodium ion battery to meet this new national safety standard. So the energy density of this battery is 175 watt hours per kilogram. You use a 12C charging rate. For cars and trucks with integrated 4-volt starter battery, and for a solar battery starter battery, you need a starter battery in an EV, obviously. But this battery can support quite a substantial driving range and a temperature minus 40 to plus 70. Okay, so I want to introduce you to CATL. It's the world's top EV battery company, founded in 2011 by Rob Zhang. We have 12,000 staff members in R&D, with 22,000 holding master's degrees and 193 with PhD degrees. So they've got a very, very big R&D department. Recently, they launched something called the Bedrock chassis, which I'm going to explain to you. The world's first ultra-safe, standardized skateboard platform for battery electric EVs. Next slide. So their intelligent chassis, Bedrock chassis, is designed with a decoupled upper and lower body modular subsystem design with standardized interfaces to batteries and to the rest other vehicle components. This allows rapid adaptation across multiple vehicle models and significantly shortens the vehicle development cycle. And it incorporates swappable battery standards, which are really important. The thing about what CATL are trying to do here is make partnerships with a number of different automobile manufacturers to build the battery into a standard chassis, and they can design and build on top of that. So we're talking about now a move to modular construction of automobiles, where you can take parts out and replace them with something different. And that means standardization of everything so that the connections between different parts of the automobile can be replaced with other completely different functional parts that they can connect with the other parts altogether. All of them can connect together. And the way they do this is by creating standardized interfaces between different standard components. Interfaces allow any kind of option for the other parts. And included in this is swappable battery standards, allowing any EV players to quickly enter or expand their presence in the electric vehicle market. So the CATL will always have a standard interface for batteries, and as long as the other company uses that standard interface, they can also include swappable batteries in their vehicles as well. So why are they doing this? Good. So why battery swapping? Stations have a speed advantage over EV charging. Number one, they fit seamlessly into the fully automated, hands-free mobility world of the future. They also pull double duty for grid resilience and backup power like V2G. So there's a lot more to it, but when you swap a battery, you can choose a new battery with a different chemistry you want when it's swapped. So you can decide, I want a long distance battery, or I just need a short distance battery for local use, or I can decide I want a new kind of battery which has better chemistry and has a different kind of option in it. So the company that's actually doing this at scale is NIO in China. And it's everywhere. It's all over China. So NIO's battery swapping is fully automated. It takes less than 3 minutes to swap for a new one. And when you swap, you can change batteries to get different range and power attributes, or batteries suitable for colder weather, whatever you want. You could also continue to charge your batteries at home or at DC chargers. And you can continue with V2G cost savings at home. So the way it works, and I've seen this happening, the EV moves itself into the dock. So you just put it in a certain mode, and it automatically moves the car into the dock. And you drive out 3 minutes later with fresh batteries. You just sit there, and it happens. So NIO is all over Europe at the moment, as well as China. China, they have 3,376 swapping stations. And in Europe, they have 60 battery swapping stations. They're already selling cars all over Europe. And you can see their ambitions here. NIO has, while they've been in Europe, developing with the Germans an international standard for reliability, interoperability, and safety of battery swapping technology. So this standard has the standard interface for batteries included in it. So it's telling you which vehicles can be used for swapping. So you can just see here, there are two major standards in place. One is the GB standard for safety. The second one is the DIN standard for interface, for connections between different components, between the battery and different components in a vehicle. On top of this now, CATL has created a joint venture, first of all with NIO, because NIO have all of the experience with battery swapping. And CATL sees this as a way forward for their market. So they've joined together, and CATL has created this Choco Swap batteries, which they're building over 1,000 stations in China, and they plan to do the same in Europe for swapping. So this is really growing at an enormous pace this year, and next year it'll be growing at a very big pace, because now there's money behind it from CATL, and there's a standard for how battery swapping can occur. In CATL's stations, it only takes 100 seconds to change a depleted battery for a charged one. So a little less than NIO, which was 3 minutes. The maximum daily capacity of one station is 822 swaps. According to CATL, the cost of using a battery swap subscription plan is 0.1 yuan per kilometer, or about 0.01 US dollars. So I'll just elaborate a little bit on this. The subscription plan means that when you buy an EV that has battery swapping, you pay about 2/3 of the price that you would normally pay for that EV, because a third of the cost is normally from the battery. That's roughly the case for all EVs. So the battery, in this case, is leased to the customer, and they pay for by renting the battery. So I already mentioned the partnership for battery swapping. This partnership, they will jointly build a battery swap network for passenger vehicles across a full range of vehicles. They already have other partners, many of the biggest players of vehicles in China who are producing electric vehicles. It strengthens the capital and business synergies. CATL has the capital to do this. It shares the experience among many different players, and it supports the batteries used by a variety of EV brands. Okay, the first off the block here is NIO's new Firefly, which is built for Choco Swap, CATL Choco Swap. This vehicle has a 330 to 420 kilometer range, again, based on the different models. So the pricing equivalent, standard 23,000 Canadian dollars. If you take the battery as a service option, it goes down about 1/3 of the cost to purchase the car. So you get 150 kilometers top speed. You can do the fast charging. You don't need double guns. You don't need two guns anymore, but you can continue with the DC fast charging. And you can do the battery swapping. So that's rental $77 a month. Next slide. This is a nice car. I like this car. The next one I wanted to talk to you is built by Huawei, who is, you all know, is the manufacturer of phones in China. But they've got involved in the electric car business as well. And they also are building electric cars. So this Aito M9 also is part of the Choco Swap grouping. So it has a 630-kilometer range, 6-seat. This is a big car, and it's really beautiful inside. Just it has everything, these seats that you can get massages on and heated and all sorts of things for the people who are in the car to enjoy, all kinds of entertainment and refrigerators and things like that. This is the trend anyway. So they can do the charging. Next slide. Here's a smaller car from Sherry, another group involved in this Choco Swap deal. So the iCar has a 500-kilometer range. And you can see it's quite decently priced, about 21,000 Canadian to 29,000. And it does the Choco Swap, or you can just have a normal battery when you buy it. And then we've got another big player, Hongqi. Hongqi, FAW Hongqi has got a very strong reputation going back many, many years in China. And they also do the Choco Swap. And I won't go through all the specs here. You can just see it's much more expensive. It's a decent longer range, and it's got a better size. And finally, the Ocean 520, you probably never heard of Ocean or Chang'an. Chang'an is another big brand in China. And that has, again, a similar low price. So all those cars do this, are able to do Choco Swap with their cars. And you can see this Ocean car is built with the local taxi services in mind. These cars are the first to use the Choco Swap, and Ocean has joined that, and they joined it for a purpose because this is ideal. Battery swaps is ideal for taxis. So taxis are always on the go in China, everywhere, always on the go. So a fast charge, like you get from a swappable battery at a Choco Swap, is very, very practical. You need to be on the road as soon as possible. So this keeps the full-time, the car on the road full-time. You don't have this long wait to charge your vehicle. And most of the 74% of taxis in China are electrified. Sometimes it seems to me like 100% because they're all electric taxis. And they're easy to find. You just wave and they stop. So it's one of the main ways of getting around in China, anywhere in China. Flagfall in Beijing is $3 Canadian, and where I live, it's only $1.20. And even before ChocoSwap, even before NIO, there's been many attempts to build, or they have built, many rural swapping stations in China for different different kinds of vehicles, for taxis, and for ride-sharing vehicles. So here's another example of popular swap stations built in Beijing by the municipal city government. So they also do that, just 100 seconds to swap, 822 swaps per day. This is what Beijing is saying. And they have 350 municipal swap stations, and they'll build more than 1,000 supercharging stations this year, they say. The average charging time for a mainstream supercharging vehicle will be reduced to about 15 minutes per charge. So the city government is putting lots into developing the electric vehicles in their city. So the next thing I want to talk about is electric scooters in China. So with the urbanization, farmers have become much more interested in easy, quick, cheap ways to get around. And rural residents in my town where I live are very popular, are finding it's very popular to own one of these scooter brands. They're all over the place. And people are really keen to find ways like this to get around. It's really cheap, really easy to go on an electric scooter anywhere. You can go anywhere. This has brought a new business proposition to China in the last 3 or 4 years, which is last mile delivery. Since COVID, 2 new industries are sweeping throughout China. Online delivery business to consumers has boomed, and the two-wheel electric vehicle business has boomed. And massive investments have been made to put these 2 low-cost urban consumer markets together so people can get things delivered to their home. They buy them online and they get them delivered to their home by these guys. So this is the way it usually works. Merchants are the sources, selling it to the customers. The customers are making orders, and the orders are being delivered by riders in vehicles. This is the circular way it happens. But there is a big weakness in this. So when you get a large order volume, so you're looking for a rider to take it to the merchant, or take it to the customer, pick it up from the merchant and take it to the customer. And that means that if you can't find a rider that's close to the location where you need the pickup and the delivery, you're in trouble. So you need to find a rider that's nearby and online. Most of the riders are often too far away or offline. So this means there's a very, very tight schedule to achieve. And typically, what they were finding is that as orders increased, rider supply became less reliable, and contact with the rider could only be made through an app on their smartphones. Most of the riders contracted, and they're getting paid through the app, and they're getting their directions through the app. If their app was off, or if they're away, not near the pickup point, but need charging or need filling up with gas, they can't be rescheduled quickly. So it's often a problem getting a rider at that location when you need it. So efficiency requires a unique cloud-resident algorithm to optimize riders and routing, supported by electric batteries that transmit the rider location and charge level continuously from the battery management system. So I haven't said much yet about battery management systems, BMS. They are fundamental to all these batteries in the vehicles of all kinds. So the BMS is the brains behind the battery. It runs the battery. It collects all the data about the battery, and it allows you to adjust various parameters in the battery and also deliver information about where the battery is, where the rider is, where the when they last swapped a battery, or where they last recharged, whatever. So they need to get, you can send that information from the BMS. And that information goes into a battery swapping recharge network that enables uninterrupted riding during the delivery process. So let's go to the next slide. Incidentally, this is a big, huge company, massive company in China for food delivery. So hot food delivery, it needs to be on time, it needs to be kept warm, and it needs dynamic route planning and short charging times. So the short charging time comes about by swapping, battery swapping. So you go to these swapping cabinets, you'll see them there. They're all stacked up. And you've got a code on your phone, from the BMS, which is connected to the head office, or the place that's routing all these riders. And it's telling the rider which slot, which number you can open to get your next battery. And you replace it with your current battery, and it just takes about 5 minutes, and you're back on the road again. So this is the lowest cost recharging in the shortest time. So that the reduction in costs is huge. So huge that Santa Fe Express, SF Express, another delivery titan in China, has more than 10,000 swappable battery towers in more than 100 Chinese cities. In 2023, SF were able to buy 30,000 electric bikes without battery packs and still make sure that all delivery personnel always have a charged battery pack to go a little further. So they manage everything in the cloud. They can connect with all these riders. And another thing that probably people don't see about battery swapping is that people who own the batteries get revenue from them. They get revenue from the riders, or in this case, they get revenue from the company that's using the batteries to earn income for how long their battery has been in use. They can also they can connect directly. If you're an investor in a battery, one of these batteries, you can get directly from the BMS information about its lifespan, its location, its health, and your income earned from that battery. So it's already a huge business in China, a new business for many Chinese investors, is investing in batteries. Another thing about the landscape in China is the excitement about low-speed electric vehicles in China. You see them all over the place. So this is just a typical example. It's usually used for passenger and cargo movements. And they have other kinds that have little uh, uh, places like a little truck that you can carry stuff in. Next slide. So talking about trucks, I want to talk a little bit about long distance transport electric trucks. So one is windrows. Windrows are a very big player globally now. They're offering a 670-kilometer range long haul freight truck with a Canadian equivalent of price of 352,000. So it's a full electric Class 8 semi truck with a massive LFP battery, 800-volt high voltage ultra fast charging, and megawatt level single and dual gun charging. Next. This is the interior. So across China and Europe and US and New Zealand and Australia, Windrose has been verifying a range of 670 kilometers with a full load of 49 tons. So they're preparing for a global market. They've already got orders in various places. Windrose here in Australia, you can see, and they're run by a very enlightened guy, Han Wen, who is educated in the US and has this dream to build these trucks. Next. There's another player here, Sany, and there are many other players coming up that can do will be able to do battery swapping as well, who are going after the international electric long distance truck markets worldwide. Sany is a very big player in China. They make all kinds of equipment like cranes and road building equipment and all kinds of equipment for from large construction, large things, cement mixers, lots of kinds of trucks and equipment. Next slide. They do fast charging, and they also do battery swapping for long distance. Here you can see one going into a CATL charging station. So CATL, to push the adoption of battery swap capable trucks, CATL is building a network of swap stations covering 150,000 kilometers of expressways and trunk roads across China. So high mileage truck operators using this standardized battery and ecosystem can save around $12,000 Canadian annually. I guess that can go up and down depending on your usage, but it shows that there are cost savings. Okay, next slide. So the last thing I want to talk about is international cooperation and trade, which is just as much a part of this thing. So we've got, first of all, this is amazing. BYD is building 8 carriers like this, 8 ships to transport their cars overseas. This is the latest one, number 4, I think. Yeah, number 4. And it's there just to transport their trucks. You can see transport their cars. You can see up on the side, maybe you won't see it. It says LNG powered. So these ships, however, are powered by LNG, which is kind of disappointment. But they're going all over the world. Next slide. BYD is also making massive strides all over the world with buses. So this is just an example in Hungary. They're building a factory for electric buses. They've already done it in California. They've got ones in uh, uh, many other European countries and other parts of the world. So they're building electric buses. I think it's one of their top exports. And for the first time here, we've got another competitor, though, who is CATL, Electric Cargo Ship. So they've joined with another company called Gening Energy to build a cargo ship to carry their electric cargo to carry their electric vehicles overseas. Next slide. And another area, another portion of this international export is the development of ports in different countries, in different parts of the world. China has just created this port in Chancay in Peru, which has connections all the way through to Brazil and Argentina, and you can deliver cars, 800 to 1,200 vehicles per ship through this port to anywhere in South America. So this is happening all over the world, this increased attentiveness on battery transport. Not battery transport, EV transport. And you can see a lot of joint ventures going on, especially in Europe. CATL and Stellantis have built a factory in Spain. And that's bringing state-of-the-art battery technologies to all Stellantis models in Europe. So this is a huge kind of trend in the European markets, is these joint ventures that they're making with different local companies. Next slide. In Thailand, there's also a manufacturing cooperation for this vehicle, the Wuling Mini, which is very popular in China, especially in small cities like mine. And they are assembling the vehicles in Thailand. Thailand used to be known for assembling vehicles from all over the world. So this is just a next step for them. So they've got a joint venture with SAIC GM Wuling, which is this company which has General Motors. It's always had General Motors as one of its partners in China. So next slide. The Wuling Mini is also a big deal in Indonesia. They're actually manufacturing the Wuling Mini and have been for 8 years in Indonesia. And this gives the customers the right-hand drive electric vehicle option. You can't get that in Thailand. You can't get that in other countries in Southeast Asia. So the Wuling have really developed these factories. You can see this is typically what the Wuling range and cost is, 16,000 Canadian. It's equivalent to the Chinese cost. DC charging, normal DC charging, and LFP batteries. It's 4 doors, very comfortable inside. And next slide. Great Wall Motor, another big player in China.
Okay, this is Jonathan. I'm talking on the cell phone.
Yes, I can hear.
Audio's coming in.
Perfect. It's all working, Jonathan. So questions. David was asking for some detail on the sodium ion battery. So maybe David, can you pose a question to Jonathan on that?
Yes, I'm very interested in it.
Yeah, it wasn't so much of a question, but I would like to hear more of your thoughts if you have any insight into sodium ion batteries in China.
Yeah.
To the battery slides.
So can I explain a little bit about the sodium ion battery?
Please do.
Of course, yes.
Like slide
Okay,
number.
something I can elaborate on about it is that the sodium ion battery that CATL is building has a very unique chemistry because it has two battery components inside, and it can, with the BMS battery management system, can actually manipulate those two different parts of the chemistry so that they can do certain jobs at certain times, like if you need cold weather battery resilience, it can switch to the sodium ion. If you need high power, it can switch to another chemistry capability. It's not blending these chemistries. It's just utilizing them in different ways to achieve the goals, like range and things like that you want to get. This is a completely new way of building batteries, which is unique to CATL.
I've read about that. It sounds like it's multiple battery packs of different types of batteries. And then the battery management system selects the type of battery pack it wants to utilize to give you the performance that you're asking for at that time.
That's right. That's a good way of putting it, yeah. I think it's called the fly void battery from CATL. I mean, this sodium ion battery stands alone, typically stands alone, sodium ion battery. And that's what's being, that's basically got the low temperature and the high temperature, no sensitivity. It can handle both low temperature and high temperature. It's got very, I'm not sure looking at the specs, but it's got very good capabilities in all weathers. And it's also cheaper than a lithium ion battery and safe, like a lithium ion battery. And it's probably safer. It is safer than the lithium ion battery. And it's potentially lower cost than a lithium ion battery. And when I say lithium ion battery, I mean talking about lithium iron LFP. So I think that the sodium ion has just been released by CATL. So we have yet to see what if there's any difficulty with it, but it's got through that standard. It's met the testing standards that were required by the new law in China about testing standards for batteries. So it's got a very high capability, very high. It's met a very high bar for acceptance as a battery under that new standard, which is due to come into effect next year.
And to put the fire risk into perspective, most of the electric vehicles in Canada are the lithium ion, the nickel, cobalt, manganese battery, which is the most flammable of all the batteries we've been talking about tonight. And their prevalence for fire is that for equivalent kilometers driven, equivalent numbers of vehicles, you will have 20 or 60 fires in a gas or diesel vehicle for every fire of a lithium battery vehicle. So we're still talking massively safer than your gas and diesel vehicles. And your hybrid vehicles, because they have the flammability of the gas and the problems of the batteries, they're somewhere around 130 times or more fires compared to the lithium ion battery. So much more prevalent to fires than gas and diesel. And even then,
that's right.
Don't fret. If you got a hybrid, it's not going to burn. It's very unlikely. Just wanted to put things into perspective.
NMC and NCA are very much they're not used in China much now. It's I think because of those safety reasons, and the LFP, the lithium iron phosphate batteries are universally used, which are much safer. So they're fundamentally the gold standard, and have been for the last 2 years or 3 years in China. So the NMC and NCA have been around in the US for a long time, and Canada probably. And it's because that was considered the lithium battery of choice because of its range and its power. So, but it has this terrible reputation for fires. So it's very rare that it's used at all in China for the Chinese vehicles. I think there are CATL usages where they are using CATL batteries that do have NMC and NCA because they're targeting that market, but they're going to have to change that because of the new standard.
So here's a dumb international standard question that an engineer would ask. Is it linguistically possible to translate that new Chinese GB standard into a European language so that we could understand it and have some sense of comfort with the safety of the batteries that meet that standard?
Yeah, definitely. It is already in English. So it isn't just a Chinese local standard, it's a GB standard. Great Britain. It's a standard that it comes under that category. It's been it's an international standard.
Okay, that's
so
great.
The name and number of that standard is in my presentation.
And the DIN standard that you referred to is a German standard, right? Or an EU standard. The DIN standard that they had worked on in collaboration with.
DIN is also a European standard.
Yeah.
DIN is Germany.
Yeah.
German standard.
Okay, that's really good to
International,
see
German International
some
Standard,
sort of-
EIN.
international standardization going on. Because that is
Yeah.
what makes industry feel,
International standards that have been developed by the Chinese in combination with their international partners in Europe.
thank you.
I had a question, Jonathan.
Yes, Ed.
I really love the battery swapping idea. Basically, you don't need to buy a new car if your battery goes down in range. You just get a new battery. So I really like that idea. But I was wondering, once the battery is spent to a point where it doesn't have sufficient range, what happens to it? Does it get recycled or something? Or
Yes, you know, CATL has a huge battery recycling business, really.
oh, okay.
They've developed a huge recycling battery business. So this, as a consumer, you never see this, but they do it because they get harvest the material from the recycling to reuse. They can do that with many of the materials in the batteries, and they've got huge factories just doing recycling in China, and so it's all part of the supply chain. Their supply chain. They've got huge supply chains. These companies.
And if you do, if you do the
Sorry?
battery swap approach, you as the EV driver never own a battery. You pay a fuel
That's right.
service, and the fuel service provider makes sure the battery is good enough quality to give you service. And when it's not being used, you do the vehicle to grid. So there's tremendous value to the company there that they can take for working with the grid at scale. And then if the battery is not good enough for the EVs, they can still do it vehicle to grid. It still has another decades of use just for vehicle to
That's
grid.
right.
And then the mining companies take the valuables for the third life and make new batteries, except this time you skip the mining companies and you go straight to the battery manufacturer.
So as a consumer, you don't see any of this. You just get a fresh battery every time you swap, and that battery has it's robust. It will meet all the requirements that it needs to meet about charging, about distance, and quality. All the standards that it needs to meet will be swapped into the vehicle. Now, I know people here that use batteries from NIO in their cars, and they're very happy with it. They're really happy with the battery swapping. In fact, one of my friends says, I don't really need to pay any attention to battery swapping because I can just charge it with my at home. You know, I can just plug it in and get it charged that way, or I can use another public charger to charge it as well. So unless I think I'm going to go on a long trip or something like that, I might go and swap it for a battery which has a longer range, you know. And you can just do that. You can decide I'm going to swap it for a change. And then when you come back from your long trip, you just swap it back to the daily size, things like that. So you've got a huge support from the battery swapping. You don't have to worry about lifespan and, you know, degradation or anything in the battery, or whether it doesn't meet your requirements. That's your decision. And you can keep up with the new battery technologies as well. So when a newer, better, safer, longer distance battery comes out, you get the advantage of it automatically. You don't have to ditch your old battery. You just get swapped. And it takes a few minutes. It takes 100 seconds in CATL's battery swap place. You just do it instantly, practically, and it's there. You get a new battery, and you can continue on your way. So this is ideal for long distance travel, where you need, instead of refueling, you can just swap your battery if you've got a battery swap station close by. To me, it makes huge sense. It's like our old gas station, but without having to DIY, doing it yourself, or putting the liquid, which is, highly flammable, into your vehicle, and taking, maybe 10 minutes or something to do it. And it just seems so useful to be able to do it a simpler way.
And part of what I think Anne was getting at was environmental concerns. When you recycle these newer batteries, they've been finding 80%, probably over 98% of the battery materials can be recycled and made into a new battery. And when they've done that, they've actually found that the battery you make out of old batteries is better in performance and quality than the batteries you made them from were when they were new. So you're not talking about degradation of quality. You're maintaining or enhancing quality. Part of the enhancement probably is the technological developments, I'm guessing, but it is an indication that once you got your batteries in place, you don't need new raw material. You generally go back to your old material and use it. The advantage of the battery swap, you have a huge company that has all the connections, all the know-how. You're not going to have the occasional battery going out in the kitchen garbage to the landfill. Not that you're going to put an EV battery in the kitchen landfill. You do that with cell phones and laptops, but
that's right. And a big company like CATL is actually earning money from the batteries all the time. Consistently, it's a huge market for them because they recycle them. They recycle the ones that are old. They can do vehicle to grid, not vehicle to grid, but from the battery swapping or location, they can actually do vehicle to grid, their battery to grid. They can do, they can use the batteries that are in the swapping to manage their access to the grid as well. So they can do huge things which we can't do in our cars to improve the battery health and to decide which batteries need to be recycled or need to be removed and changed to a different battery and so on.
And they don't have to charge the batteries as quickly, which means less demand on the grid. They can control that.
Yeah,
with what the grid's doing is what they're able to do.
It's all done with programming, with computer systems. They've got tons and tons of ways of managing the battery now, and they take the responsibility of managing your batteries.
So question, Jonathan, it looked like you were saying it was a little over 1 cent a kilometer US, 1 cent, which I would round up to 2 cents Canadian per kilometer for the battery swap service. And then you talked about a $77 per month fee. Do you pay both additive or how does that work?
No, these are different. The 70, you when you buy the car, you sign a contract with the part of that is signing a contract with the battery swapping. That's part of the deal with the car, and that's the battery as a service part, and it it has a specification about a steady monthly rental if you choose for that battery. I don't know what the variations are or how they're arrived at, but they're around that amount. It's around I shouldn't say something that I'm not sure of here, but it is to do with that kilometer a per kilometer thing. That may be the case in some cases. In other cases, it's a flat amount. It's a fixed amount. I know that now we're using a fixed amount per month.
I've read a couple of battery swap contracts, and it's sort of like cell phone plans. You can buy various features, how many times you can do a battery swap in a month, how many kilometers you drive, and so on. And there's fees, and you work within those plans.
Yeah, I'd have to talk to my friend about it in more detail because he owns one car and he uses that all the time.
And
so I can't go out and buy a car now. I wouldn't want to go out and buy a car, so I haven't got that nitty gritty experience of doing it. If I went out and bought a car, I would buy a battery swapping car, definitely.
If one of us were to go down to Shanghai in Peru when the big BYD cargo ship comes in and buy a Chinese EV there right off the dock and drive it and pay the tariffs at every border between there and Canada, how much would it add to the price, do you think? And then we would have a CBC article on it to publicize the event.
They need to get, as many cars sold as possible.
We have to demonstrate to the Canadian government that there's a demand, and that a publicity stunt like that might help.